What's up, guys? Carlos here again, and today we're going to talk about 5 things you should know about tire rotations. Okay, well, tire rotations? No, because if you're a do-it-yourselfer, this probably doesn't apply to you, but you may learn something, so, enjoy the ride. This video is going to be more towards people that are actually going to a shop to get it done, to pay for it, right? So, some common knowledge, and here we go. Let's start with number 1. Number 1 is best tires always go to the front. Okay, this can stir up quite an argument, and that's why I'm going to talk about it into some depth. Now, if you go to a Jiffy Lube or anything like that, and you go and you purchase 2 tires, they're always going to tell you to put the 2 brand new tires in the back. Why? The tire manufacturers are telling the retailers that they have to tell the customer to put them in the back for safety reasons. Now, there is some legitimacy to this concern, but to me, it's more of a marketing thing than anything. The reason I say that is because the truth of the matter is you need 4 good tires on your car. In some cases, you can only buy 2 tires, or you have 2 really good tires in really good shape, and then you buy 2 newer tires and put those in the back because they're telling you to. The truth of the matter is that if you have 2 tires that are in bad shape in the front and brand new in the back, you're gonna have problems with traction. Same thing if you were to swap them the other way. If you had bad tires in the back and you put them and good new ones in the front, you're gonna have traction issues. You're gonna have issues with braking and all of that because you need 4 good tires. So to me, the tire manufacturers are using this as a marketing thing, because the truth of the matter is that if you're buying 2 good tires, it's because the other 2 are in good shape. Now, if they're not, you're in danger no matter what. Okay. So by putting the 2 good new tires in the back, the front of the car has most of the weight. So those are going to wear much quicker. Now you're putting the used tires in the front, which are a little more worn. So it's kind of like a marketing scheme, if you ask me. When you're rotating your tires, you're always going to put the tires with the most thread towards the front. At least that's the way it should be, right? If you follow the correct rotation patterns from the beginning of the life of the tire, you'll never have to worry about that because they'll wear evenly, so long as your alignment is good. But if you're just in a situation where you have, unmatched tires, some good, some bad, the best ones should go to the front, because those are the ones that are going to wear the quickest. But just keep in mind that you need 4 good tires, okay? So if you're in a situation where not all 4 are in decent shape, like let's say you have 1 or 2 bad ones, then you need to strongly consider getting 2 new ones, okay? But if you're just starting a rotation, like right now, you watch this video and you're like, well, I don't know where I'm at with my tires, then I suggest you get the best 2 you have, put them in the front, okay? And if the other 2 are in still decent shape, put them in the back. And what I mean by decent shape is that they're almost as good as the front. It's just the fronts are slightly better, okay? All right, moving on from that. Number 2. Make sure that the rotation that they're doing to your car is the proper one. You're saying, what? There's different types? Absolutely, there's different types. If your car's a front-wheel drive car, you're going to rotate it this way. If your car is a rear-wheel drive car, then you're going to rotate it that way. So, of course, all-wheel drive is different also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys a pattern of exactly how it should be. And pretty much the rule of thumb and the way to always remember is the driven wheels always go straight. So what does that mean? If your car's a front wheel drive car, the driven wheels are in the front of the car. So when you rotate your tires, the front tires should go directly back, and then the rear tires are going to cross going forward. Okay? And that same rule applies if it's rear-wheel drive, just the other way around, right? Remembering that the driven wheels always go straight. So that's something to know. And yeah, mechanics know this. Some do, some don't. Some get taught from the very beginning, oh, you just swap from back to front, and that's not the way it is. There's completely different way of doing that, as I just explained. So make sure you get there and you tell them, hey, I want to rotate it this way, okay? And mark your tires on the inside if you have to make sure they're done correctly. You're paying for it, so make sure that what you're paying for is correct, okay? Then we're gonna go to number 3. I've mentioned this in some of my previous videos, and it's also very important. Make sure that when they're tightening down your wheels, they don't use the impact gun to put the lug nuts all the way in. Now, this wasn't so much of a problem way back in the day, and I'm talking about like 80s and 90s, early 90s. But as cars keep getting more fuel efficient, they start using different metals and lighter metals, and the rotors materials have changed throughout the years, and they're getting softer, and they're getting more sensitive to these types of torque. So I personally have learned, especially when working at Ferrari and you know, those higher end cars, that it really does make a difference when you torque down the wheels with a torque wrench. When you use the impact gun, you can over torque them, and then what happens is, since it was over torqued, it puts a lot of pressure on the rotor in the back of the wheel, and it can cause it to warp. So then when you start to brake, you'll feel like a vibration, and that's damage to your car you could prevent just by simply using the correct tool. So I strongly suggest that you tell them, I want my lug nuts tightened down with a torque wrench to the proper spec. If they don't do that, they don't have the tool, then you need to move on. Sometimes they have torque sticks. Okay, I'm gonna put an image up of what they look like, that they put on the impact gun, and those are good because those limit the amount of torque that is applied to the wheel. So that is the only time they can properly use. You can use an impact gun, and it won't cause any damage. Okay, but you have to have that torque stick. If not, you need a torque wrench. I'll put an image of that up too, and make sure that they tighten it down into correct pattern. Every lug nuts, depending how many you have, 6, 5, 4, they have different types of patterns. A quick Google search, I'll put up the most common ones up also, and that's the way you would want to tighten down the wheels. Now you may say, wow, this is a lot for a $20 tire rotation. Yes, but you're paying for it, and if you're not doing it correctly, what's the point of even doing it? Because that's the thing. And that's what I'm trying to get across, is that in the long run, it's going to save you money if you know what you're doing and you do it correctly, okay? So that's number 3. Number 4 is if your car is equipped with a tire monitor sensor. What does that mean? That on your dashboard, okay, it tells you, it'll probably tell you across, you know, which tire has what pressure inside the tire. So if a tire is low, it'll tell you, oh, low tire pressure. It has a little indicator, right? If it has that, you have to reprogram the sensors every time you do a tire rotation. This is something similar to oil changes that has to be reset every time you do it. If you do not do it, what happens is nothing harmful is going to happen to the car, but what happens is one day you'll be low on tire pressure on one of your tires one morning. You know, you get a nail or something, which happens to everybody, even me. What happens is it'll say left front tire, low tire pressure, and then you go up there and you start putting air, and you start putting air, and you start putting air, and then, well, nothing's happening. It keeps saying it, and then you're like, what the? And that's because the tire sensor is no longer in that position. It's probably in the right rear, and it has to relearn the positions. So if you don't relearn the positions, it won't be accurate. So that has to be done. It's a simple procedure in most cases. In some cases, you could even do it yourself. It'll say that in the owner's manual also. So for you do-it-yourselfers, most definitely you can learn that on there, okay, and do it yourself. And then of course we have tire pressure. Knowing when you're doing a tire rotation or any service for that matter, anytime your car goes into the shop, your tire pressure should be checked. That's a safety concern. Having the correct tire pressure in your tires is extremely important. If you have too much tire pressure, the ride will be extremely rough, and the tire could be, very sensitive with impact because there's so much pressure into it, and it can explode at any minute if it's too much pressure, right? If it's too little, you'll destroy your tire. I mean, you'll destroy your tire in either way. By not having the correct tire pressure on your car, your tires will wear way quicker. So that's like number one reason why your tire pressure is that important. Safety is there also. Like tire pressure is very important. That's why even like these giant highway signs that have like the LEDs on them. I mean, we have them all up and down the Florida Turnpike here in Florida, and they pretty much give you different messages. And you've seen on that. I've seen on those messages often already, saying check tire pressure, because this is that important. Okay, like if your tire pressure's not set correctly, something happens on that highway. It has too much pressure, heats up, boom, it explodes. A truck can flip easily from a tire explosion, So it's a safety thing, and it's very important. Now, where do you find this information? Many people, and this is like a myth, complete myth, but for some reason it's like common knowledge, at least near my peers. Just put the tire pressure that it says on the tire. That is completely incorrect. The tire pressure that's written on the tire is telling you what the tire is allowed to have maximum safely. Has nothing to do with the car. Tire manufacturers just make tires. They don't know what cars they're going to go on most of the time. Okay, they have an idea, but not a perfect amount, right? Or information. Either way, the tire pressure on the tire is not for that. It's just a maximum. It's an indicator. This is maximum. The correct tire pressure that the manufacturer recommends, that the engineers who actually built the car figure out this number. Okay, that's stamped onto the door jamb on most American cars. If it's not on there, I've heard in some cases that it's in the fuel, on the fuel door of the gas, where you put gas in the car. I've also heard of that information under the hood. So there might be different locations, but by law they have to have this sticker. I've also seen it in the center console, like on the lid of the center console. When you lift up the lid, it usually has it there. There's some cars that have it there also, and it'll tell you exactly how much pressure to have on each wheel, even the spare tire. So by doing that, you're covered. Your tire life is going to increase. Your fuel economy is most definitely going to increase. The ride is going to be at its best quality, just because that is what it's designed for. Okay. So that's all 5 things you should know before getting a tire rotation. I know that I can talk off, but I'm trying to give you as much details as I possibly can. And I hope that helps. Of course, if you have any questions about this topic or anything car related, please email me at educatedgreasemonkey@gmail.com, and I will do my best to answer it. And who knows, you might even inspire an episode, right? I might even show up on my Ask the EGM live show. So email away. And of course, if you want to find me on social media, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope. Might be missing one. Carlos M. DeOro. Till next time, guys.